Kurk. I'm joined here by Laura and by Buffy, who are, well, probably people you speak to without even realising it. So we're getting a chance to see the faces behind the voices. So girls, welcome. Ladies, perhaps I should say. Now tell us, Laura, how long have you been with London Scottish?
3 months now.
3 months. And how's it been in those 3 months?
Good. Very enjoyable. A lot to learn.
A lot to learn.
Rugby union is quite new for me.
Ah, now you say rugby union is quite new for you because rugby league is actually what you were brought up on, isn't it? Where did you work? Tell us a little bit about where you worked before.
I've worked for Harlequins Rugby League before, which is now London Broncos again. So I spent a lot of time doing the community development and developing the commercial side of that part of the club.
And what's your actual role at London Scottish? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
So I'm responsible for hospitality bookings. So whenever you ring in the club to book hospitality, it's usually me that answers the phone or that deals with it. All of the ticketing, making sure all the ticketing systems are working and everyone gets what they're booked for. Membership as well, and then the major sort of thing at the moment is the events. So our St Andrew's Day dinner,
which was very successful, I understand. Unfortunately, I missed it. I couldn't be here, but it was a great do, wasn't it? And I guess that you know, people don't understand what goes on behind the scenes, and the fact they get given a ticket on match day, they don't realise the work that's led up to that ticket being printed physically, and everything else in the admin and the support that goes into that. And it's a very responsible role. Now, Buffy, you've been with the club, I think, something like 4 or 5 years now. I mean, what's your overall role? What do you do?
Well, my role's sort of changed a little bit in the process of being there for 5 years. Sort of came on board as a club administrator, but my role overriding now is sort of as a match day operations girl. And
what does that range from and to?
Well, since Laura's come on board, it's a lot of that element has actually been passed over to Laura as well, but it's just making sure that we have all the stewarding, looking at all the time frames of exactly how the match days roll from start to finish, i.e. when the staff get in and start setting up site, get the stewards there, all the catering and the hospitality elements that we have to put together to ensure that that goes smoothly. Just a lot of coordination of things going on a match day, all the half-time activities, all that sort of thing.
And it's very much part of the team off the pitch, isn't it? I mean, there's yourselves there, you've got Simon who's looking after the media side, you've got Rusty looking after the promotions, and you've got David Dunbar, you've got the other Simon. I mean, it's a real big team effort, isn't it? And everybody has a role to play. Yeah. In terms of this season in particular, having moved into the Championship, have you noticed a big difference from last season and the seasons before you've been here? In terms of admin and just the whole step up?
Well, the team's obviously grown massively, so in terms of match days and things like that, with the sponsors that have come on board, it's pretty dramatic in terms of how much that has created a much more bigger portfolio of sponsors on board. And
that will look very attractive, by the way. Bigger portfolio of sponsors,
Yeah, bigger portfolio sponsors, therefore there's a lot more activation to do around those sponsors and making sure that they get a return of investment into the club and making sure there's a lot more brand exposure for them. So there are a lot more elements that have to be achieved on match days as opposed to 5 years ago.
Yeah. Now, Laura, it's very much a man's world, rugby, isn't it? I mean, that's what people say, although I think those barriers are finally being broken down. But rugby league, being a northern game, is even more a man's world, isn't it? I mean, how do you manage with all of that, sort of dealing with that side of things? Not dealing with the men, obviously. I'm talking about perhaps the perception of it.
It can be difficult sometimes. Certainly, there are a lot of people who are still very much in that mindset of it's a man's sport and men should be working in it and all that kind of thing. But I think, you know, given that it's quite a few years since I was at Quins now, so I think it is starting to change. But as I said, there's still a bit of a way to go, I think.
You've still got to be one of the lads in a way, though, don't you, Buffy? I mean, you know, you've got to deal with the banter, you've got to give it as good as it gets and give it in bigger spades, almost.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to be able to handle yourself in this kind of environment. But equally, it's really great now that the rugby department and the commercial department have now separated into two porter cabins, so
is it males versus females, is it? Or?
Actually, it still is very much so. Yeah.
Now, look, Simon Farron, just tell us a little bit about what you think about him. Now, the only reason I'm saying that is because he's holding the camera at the moment. Now, what role does he play? Because he won't come on camera.
Simon's the marketing and sort of communications guy on board.
So it's great. We've got a communications man who won't... if you like, send in an email. We'll get him on this interview, guaranteed. Is that fair enough? I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, look, Christmas presents its own situations, if you like, to deal with. Is there anything particular in terms of the club that we're dealing with for Christmas? You know, getting more people involved, or ideas, or anything like that at all?
Well, since you've come on board, that's helped create a bit more buzz around match days, actually, David.
Well, what can I say? Thank you very much, very kind.
We've got a big Christmas game coming up on the 17th of December. We've targeted that as our sort of...
That's the Melrose game.
Melrose game, yeah.
I think the lunch sold out now?
Yeah, it's pretty much sold out.
So you missed out on that, but January the 7th, I think we've got Plymouth. Big game as far as the bottom four is concerned, if we're still in there. So get in early for that one. This Saturday we've got Doncaster, I think, and that's pretty much sold out as well.
Yeah, that was 105 or so that's a good healthy number for hospitality, actually, in the members bar. I think the 165 mark is going to be pretty full in there, so yeah.
And the support you get from Simon and the players is great, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got requests for them to do interviews and whatever. They're very amenable to that, aren't they?
Yeah, it's good to have the buy-in of the players this season, definitely. Okay,
now, you've been here 5 years. What is the single most memorable, amusing, that you can speak about publicly moment that you can remember, Buffy? Keep it clean, is what I would say.
That's probably when we won. I think it was London 1 when we went up to National 3 South. And Malcolm Gillespie and Rod Lynch were on the pitch celebrating with the boys. I think it was Matlock and a number of the old players pouring beer all over his body, to which Malcolm then started taking his shirt off.
You may have noticed the camera is shaking at this moment.
Running around and sort of hugging people with a bare naked chest. That was pretty memorable for me.
That was a memory milestone for you.
It's my first year here and it was incredible.
And Laura, in the 3 months you've been here, would it have been the Superman at the the varsity match, perhaps?
Quite possibly, yeah. I think it's going to take a long time before I top Buffy's moment, but certainly the American football player from the varsity who stripped down to his Superman pants to take part in the pie-eating half-time contest.
Brilliant.
Definitely,
brilliant. Certainly the half-time contests have thrown up their interesting characters from time to time, it has to be said. But he was blind drunk, wasn't he?
Yes, I think he was late to see being quite ill on one of the pitches.
Right, well that's hopefully not the one we were playing on.
No.
Look, girls, ladies, which do you prefer? Girls or ladies? Which do you prefer?
Girls.
Girls. And it's great fun. You bring a great piece of atmosphere to the club, and certainly you bring a smile to it, and some not small amount of beauty too, may it be said. So, look, thank you. Is there a message you want to give to the fans out there for Christmas?
Yeah, have a really good Christmas, guys, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year down at the ground.
Laura, would you like to echo that?
Absolutely. Merry Christmas, everyone. Please buy your tickets early. Get down to the ground.
Yeah, all right, it's not a commercial. And from my part, can I just say, have a fantastic Christmas. This is probably the last one we're going to do before Christmas, but we'll try and do one before the home game on the 7th. Thank you for all your support so far this year. We look forward to seeing you at all our games and also all the events, and have a really peaceful and restful and great Christmas.